On this episode of the Nerdiest Podcast, we're going to be diving into some of the best anime for beginners. So if you're one of those people who are just getting into anime, stay tuned to see what we recommend. Hello and welcome to the Nerdiest Podcast, the show where nerds talk about nerdy things. I'm your host with the most, who is absolutely sleep deprived this week, Mr. Nick Barrett, and today I am joined by Anime Relatable to talk about the best starter anime. So if you are one of those people who's like, where do I start with anime? What should I pick? Where do I even start? There's so many different shows coming out, so many different things to talk about. This is the episode for you. We're going to get into that. We're also going to be talking about what anime we've been watching recently, as well as some viewer submissions of what they think your first starter anime should be. So stay tuned for all of that. But before we dive into that, Mr. Anime Relatable, I'm tripping on my words. Welcome to the show. First time guest. Let the audience know who you are, what you do. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, yo, thanks for having me on, bro. I always see your podcast episodes like pop up on my feed on Twitter, and I'm like, oh, like I would love to be on that, Johnny, because it seems like you guys are like real chill and in the show. So I am grateful for you to have me on. Cool. So my name is Anime Relatable. That's my YouTube name, but you can call me Eli if you ever figure out my name in my videos or anything like that. But I'm a YouTube content creator. I mainly talk about how anime that we watch, anime, manga. Honestly, it can get broad sometimes, but specifically anime and manga, and how they are relatable to our lives. So much so that it's so relatable that it helps us point to the Christian story. I think I have a big belief that the stories that we watch, although they may not be Christian, they may not be coming from a Christian worldview, but because God has made the world in such a way that anything that we watch, we can pull out different things that helps us see, our need for the Lord and our need for Jesus. And so that's basically what my YouTube channel is about. I also like to, talk about random things if I come up with the ideas or anything like that. But sometimes YouTube doesn't reward that so much, so I like to
Yep.
stick in my lanes sometimes, But that's essentially what I do.
Yeah, that's good. We run kind of in similar circles, because that's also like what I do on my channel, and it's always so interesting because like I've had you on the podcast now, I've had podcasts on here before. Like,
hmm
I did a collab stream on my channel with Piercing Heaven, and it's so interesting to see we're all like kind of running in the same circle, but we all make different content. Like we all have a different angle to go from. We all have a different
hmm
opinion, even on the same shows. Like what I have to say about Demon Slayer could be completely different about what you have to say about it. Like, so it's just, even though we're all like running the same race, it's different perspectives, different angles. So it's a good time. We hang out, and like
Yeah.
you said, you try to do that experimental stuff, and YouTube doesn't always reward the experimental. It wants you to stay like in your algorithm, but
hmm
sometimes like some of my favorite videos are the ones that are experimental, that I was like, you know
Yeah.
what, I'm just gonna make it, and we'll see what happens. Like,
Yeah, and honestly, that's what it's about. Like, honestly, I think YouTube. I think a lot of people think of YouTube now as a sort of like, oh, you have to like play the algorithm and you have to like make sure your video is the best it possibly could be, so it can touch the algorithm, so it can blow up. But sometimes like we kind of miss the U in the tube, and so it's like sometimes it's just like, yo, what do you want to talk about? What are you passionate about? What do you want to create? And I think that's honestly where you just have the most fun, and you don't kind of get like burnt out by trying to figure out, okay, yo, how do I make this video hit? When it's like, okay, like can I just do this for the love of the game, even if my video doesn't go tens of thousands of views and things like that. And um, yeah, I do love that. Like each like you said, each one of us like we do similar content, but yet it's very different. And I think that's like amazing about the body of Christ. Like I think as long as I've done this, I'm always highlighting how um over the time, like I've run into so many different like content creators, like whether they be Christian content creators or whatever, that are in the like anime nerd niche like topics, and we all have very different things to bring to the table, which I think it makes kind of um yeah, the church, God's church, is very beautiful when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, and it's like it's one of those it can be very easy to lose yourself in the content and like lose that genuine authenticity because like you said, you lose the you in YouTube, but when you talk about the things you're passionate about and you talk about the things that you love, people pick up on that passion. They pick up on that dedication to what you're talking about. So even if it's not the most popular thing in the world, if you even just impact one person because they were like, oh my gosh, this is the video I was looking for today, that like, oh, I totally feel the same way about this show or this game or whatever, like that's the reward of making the content. Like, because there's so many people who just chase the algorithm. There's so many people now who are like, oh, I'm just going to throw everything in a chat GPT and AI generate, like, and it's just going to spit out like 10 videos for me. And my production, like, I'll put out 10 videos a day. Like, it's great. And then at that point, like, you kind of lose the plot of like, there's something special about the human creativity that goes into making stuff. There's our check mark. We talked about AI on every episode this year so far. It always pops up somewhere somehow.
That's so funny. Are you? So is it like a pro? Like, I mean, no judgment. Pro AI, no AI. What, like when you're checking out the box? Like, what is?
So
what is it? What?
It depends on the context.
Okay.
We did a whole episode last year talking about is AI destroying creativity, and essentially I think the consensus we came to was no, but it could, because AI is a tool to be used. It shouldn't replace the human creativity. Like, obviously, we're very anti, like, I say we loosely, but it's very like, don't use AI to generate your entire YouTube video. But if you can feed your script to ChatGPT, maybe to get some pointers and feedback on, like, you could expand this section, you could maybe trim this section a little bit, like using it as a way to enhance what you're already creating, then that's fine. It's a tool, and it's all about how you use it. So I wouldn't say, because there are a lot of people out there who are like, oh, I'm anti-AI. And like, I understand that there's the moral, ethical, like, because AI just sweeps the internet and like takes from other artists and stuff. So there is like, that's a very valid concern, but also that's generative AI, which is a different type of AI than something that's scanning your script and giving you feedback and pointers. Like, that's a different AI than what we use in video games to control NPCs, that we're using to scan for, get earlier cancer diagnoses. Like, so to say like anti-AI blanketly, I think is a bit of an overreaction from some people, but you can definitely like raise the red flag of like, well, maybe we shouldn't be using AI generated art, and we should be like paying artists to make stuff and not lose that human touch and human connection. So if you guys haven't gone and watched our AI episode, you should. It's one of our favorite episodes. And it is I feel like we did have a good conversation, and we try not to beat the dead horse that is AI, but honestly, with the amount of ways it's just shoved in everybody's face these days, like, you kind of can't not talk about it, because Disney's using it, or Microsoft's using it, or like someone's doing something, and you're like, well, here we are on the AI train again. So
yeah, it's like, it's just unavoidable. Like my my day job like has integrated, like the company has integrated some type of AI into what we do, and so like I'm like, dang, how does this even work? But it's here. Maybe it'll burn down one day, but for now, I guess we got to deal with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's one of those, like, I'm not against using it. Like, my day job has also kind of tried to like slowly, like, they're not forcing us to use it, but they're trying to get us to find ways to integrate it into the workflow to make it more productive. So we've been going through that of like, well, it could do this, but it's faster if we just do it. Like, so all of like the dead ends we're hitting, and a lot of like what I do is video editing. So AI is not super helpful in that department yet.
For sure.
So I don't know. We'll see how AI shakes itself out in the future. But that being said, as I said, we're going to talk about what anime we've been watching. So as the guest, I'll let you go first. What anime are you watching? You watching any new stuff this season? Maybe catching up on some old shows? Or maybe you're watching nothing, and that's totally cool.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, in this busy season of my life, I'm watching a few anime, right? So, right now I'm watching Frieden Beyond Journey's End. Obviously, like, I just can't, like, new season's out right now. I think it's ended, maybe.
I think
haven't
it's
caught up
done
yet.
already.
Okay, yeah, I haven't caught up yet, but so I'm very behind. But I'm watching that right now, and so far I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it so much. I think, uh, yeah, it's just when I watch that show, I just feel like this is where I need to be right now. Like when I'm just in the midst of the show. Um, so I'm watching Freedom right now. I'm also watching JJK. Also haven't caught up, but also. I got to get my dopamine. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
everyone's going crazy. So I'm watching that right now. I haven't caught up. I feel like, yeah, as a grown up, I feel like it's so hard for me to just like not well. Let me not say that because I know that could be a little crazy. But I think in this part of my life right now, I'm like, yo, I don't know how I can sit if I don't have a day off. I don't know how I can sit through like all these anime and catch up. Like it takes me like sometimes months to catch up on like a new season, and by the time I do that, a new season's already out, and then it takes
Yep.
me months to do that. So I was like, that's really annoying. But um, I just finished with my wife. Well, she already watched it, but I just finished Apothecary Diaries
Ooh.
season 1. There is a season 2, so I'm very late to the game. So I am very excited to pick that back up. And right now I'm going a classic. I'm rewatching Naruto right now. So
Okay.
and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's a little different when you're watching it like when you first started watching it, and now that I'm a little older, I'm kind of seeing the different things. I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty interesting, and I don't feel like Sakura is that annoying as I thought she was back when I was a child, and so all that. I'm also watching One Piece, but that's an on and off thing for me.
Yep. I'm right there with you, man. Yeah, I really I relate so hard to what you said about like as an adult with a busy life schedule, it is so hard to just be like, when am I going to sit down, especially if it's shows that are subbed. Like it's so hard to find the time to sit down and be like, I'm going to dedicate all of my attention to this one series. So I
Mhm,
get that.
mhm.
But I gotta ask. I'm a famous JJK hater. How do you feel about
Okay.
Jujutsu Kaisen? Where do you stand on that show?
Okay, before I answer, why do you hate it? And now that it would influence my what I say, but I am intrigued to know why you hate it.
So a lot of my issues, and I'll keep the spoiler free in case there's anyone watching who hasn't seen it. A lot of my issues from JJK stem with how dark it is in comparison to a lot of other shonen like action series. Because I would put JJK in the same category as like My Hero, Demon Slayer, maybe Dandadan, to a
Okay.
certain extent. So I struggle with that. I also just don't think the writing's very good. I said this on a live stream a couple weeks ago, if not a couple months ago, of how JJK moves so quick, it doesn't give you any time to get attached to the characters, which is why I love My Hero, because
Mm,
it gives you that time to get attached to the characters and to really get to know them. So when things happen to them, you feel invested. Whereas with Jujutsu, I don't necessarily feel that connection with anyone outside of maybe Gojo. That's about it.
okay.
Nanami to a certain extent. And like I feel like conceptually Jujutsu has a really strong concept. I like the idea of it, of these people going out and fighting, the curses and being sorcerers. And I really like the main trio of Yuji, Nobara, and Megami. Like I like them. I just wish I got to see the three of them interact more than they did.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
and I feel like that's one of the weaker spots. And I don't mind the fighting. I think the fighting is fine, but I think and maybe this is a hot take, I would put Jujutsu Kaisen and Solo Leveling in the same tier of like it's
Oh,
just
that's a hot take, bro.
it's
You'll be
fueled
safe on this
by
podcast.
hype moments and aura. Like and listen, I love Solo Leveling because I acknowledge that it is purely hype moments and aura. And you know what? For what it's trying to be, it's good. But I would put Jujutsu Kaisen on the same level because it tries to have a story, but it's just so convoluted, and it's also just not for me. Like it's not my cup of tea. So that's why I don't like it. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it.
Got you. Yeah. I do like JJK. Would I put it in my like this is my top like 3 or 10, my own personal top 3 or whatever? Probably not. Like I like JJK. I would say mainly because of the hype moments, right? I do love a good fight scene. I love a good action scene, right? I think sometimes like maybe in the anime community will insult my intelligence because of this, but sometimes there's just a lot of information and like to understand what's going on in the show, how curses are used, how powers are used, what I think even thank God for like recap episodes and like recap videos on YouTube or whatever. But sometimes I think you can start a new season, especially when season is this season 3? This is season 3. Especially when season 3 started, I feel like aside from everything just going like stuff just hitting the fan for like at the end of season 2, I'm like, okay, what's going on? Like, and I guess I understand why Yuji is fighting for his life, but now they're in a game where they're fighting for their life, and what are the rules of the game, and like how does this curse technique work? This domain cancels out sometimes I think it can go over my head, and it takes me a while to understand it. But I would say I mainly just I like JJK for the action. Like I do the only person that I probably can not relate to, but the only person that I've grown attached to is Yuji, and I mean, and he's the main character, right? And so, but I think with Yuji, at least from my vantage point, he has gone through so much, like already. Like you start off the episode, like you start off the show in the anime or the manga, or whatever, with Yuji's dad just dying, or not dying, not his dad, his grandfather just passing away, and so he's already kind of going through grief, and then he's like sent into like this world where he's just not used to it. I don't know. I feel like I've seen some spoilers, so I may be like jumping ahead of myself. But like, I feel like he's lost so much and gone through so much where I feel like I relate to him the most in the show. As far as like, I mean, I guess Nanami, all the other side characters, I understand them, but I don't relate to them as much, and maybe because they haven't had as much screen time, in the show. But that's my take for JJK.
Yeah, that's fair. And like, as much as I ham it up of like, I hate JJK, it's the worst thing ever. Like, I know there are people who feel that way about Demon Slayer, and like, I love Demon Slayer. Oh. So I get it. Everyone's got their own different flavors of anime that they like, and if you can, relate to it and get something out of it, more power to you. Like, I'm not here to take that away from you. It's just not my thing. And I like accepted that. Yeah. And I tried to start season 3 and I got like 3 episodes in and I was like, yep, I remember why I didn't keep going. I remember, yep, okay. This is really, and like I was watching the dub. So like it wasn't even like I had to sit there and read the breakdown and the explanation of the culling game. Like they were narrating it to me and it was still just like, I was gone. I was like, I got other things I could watch. So I'm going to do that instead. So yeah, not my thing, but I figured I'd ask you about it because it's one of those like either you love it or you don't. Like,
yeah.
So as for me, the spring season just started, and I've kind of had to find this balance of watching stuff that's coming out as it's coming out. If it has a dub, it is infinitely more likely for me to watch it because I can turn that on while I'm making dinner, doing laundry, or like whatever. So I can kind of watch it while I'm continuing about my day. But then I do have a couple subbed shows that I'm like, okay, I'll sit down once a week and try to like get through all of them. Some of the standouts right now, I'm going back and finishing Oshinoko season 3, which aired in the winter and I never got around to watching it. So I'm doing that now. I just started Witch Hat Atelier, however they say that. That one's really good. I've been impressed with that so far. I've seen the first 2 episodes. And then Daemons of the Shadow Realm, the new one by the author of Fullmetal Alchemist. That one, I'm also really enjoying that. And there's like, see, that's the problem is every new season comes around and it's like, there's the 3 big shows that you're like, okay, I'm going to follow that. And then there's like 12 that are like, that premise looks interesting. I would check that out. And then you never have the free time. And that's how my watch list has like 700 anime on it. Because I'm like, I'm never going to have the time to sit down and watch this. So we'll see if I end up actually getting there and actually watching those. And I'm hopeful because I'm trying to, I've talked about this on a prior episode, I think the last one. I was trying to strike a better work-life balance so that I have more time to like play video games and watch anime and stuff. So that's opened up more opportunity to watch and just enjoy more shows. And I've checked like what's coming out in the summer and the fall, and there's not as much in the summer and the fall. So I'll use that to kind of go back and be like, okay, well, there's not like 12 things airing now that I want to watch. I'll go back and catch up on some of the other stuff. And like, I do need to get back into One Piece. I got to the time skip and then I stopped. Because I was going to go back and like catch up on like doing my video reviews and stuff. But I want to, I say I want to get caught up with One Piece this year, but I know that's not going to happen. Like that's just an unrealistic goal to set for myself.
You know, at this point, I've just realized like especially with One Piece, it's just, I just got to accept that I might just be 80 watching this show because like, there's just like I have grown out of the, like, okay, this show is too long, so I would never watch it. I still am under the idea that, like, okay, like, this episode or this show does not need to be that long, right? But I love the world building. I love the, what's happening in the show. And I'm only at least right now, at Marineford right now, where they're with the war with Whitebeard. And so I'm at the point. I'm like, okay, like I want to be in this world for a little longer because it's like kind of bringing me in. I'm still under like, it doesn't need to be that long. Like I, as a person with a wife and a family and other things going on in my life, I'm like, you could just end it sometime. If you give me, if Oda ends it sometime soon, I will breeze through that John and no doubt. But there's like no ending. Well, at least right now, there's no ending. So I'm like, if you just say like, hey, this is the final episode or final chapter of One Piece, shoot, I will finish that by the fall. But
yeah, that's real. I never thought I would be like a One Piece glazer where I'm like, oh, dude, you gotta, because I've been really trying to get my fiance to watch it. Because I'm like, if you can just power through, like, thank you. I'm like, if you can just power through East Blue all the way up to Water 7. Like, if you can get to Water 7, that's where I was hooked. I was on the fence after Skypiea, but everyone was like, no. Water 7's really good. If you can just get there, you'll understand. And then I did. And after that, I was like burning through episodes because I could not get enough. And I was like, this is okay. I understand the hype now. And to think that, like, I've heard mixed things about post-time skip because some people are like, the anime pacing gets really bad, so you should read the manga instead. Because the manga obviously is paced how it should be, whereas the anime has a ton of filler episodes that they're trying to like pad things out. And hopefully that will get better now that they've finally, after 20-something years, shifted to a seasonal schedule instead of airing every week for 20 years. For sure. So hopefully that'll help. I also think it'll be easier for people to get into One Piece when the Wit Studio remake comes out, where they're starting from the beginning, starting fresh, no filler, like going through East Blue, going through all of these different arcs. And I think that'll be a lot easier because that'll drastically bring the episode count down. Like someone said, they're condensing East Blue from, I think it's like 65 or 68 episodes down to like 24. So you're cutting out like 2/3 of the anime. Like the filler pacing was that bad that
for sure
you can cut 2/3 of it and still have all of East Blue. So I think that'll help people get into it, which is good because like One Piece is good. Like you said, the world building is good, the characters are good. I just think the anime is a little long, and and it
Yeah.
could give to maybe trim just a little bit.
Yeah. I do wonder how, like, I'm always intrigued by the reception by One Piece fans when it comes to anything, to be honest. But specifically with the new, like, the remake, I am interested to see um how they'll respond to it, because it's like, for people that are new, will be newer One Piece fans, and it's like, oh, I want to start a new anime or whatever, and they watch One Piece. It's like, will they be upset that they didn't have to, like, go through the grind, or will they be upset that, like, I don't know, Luffy's, like, accent is off, or his color, I don't know. I feel like I'm really excited to see what the response will be like, but I'm also, I feel like, are they going to run the One Piece original at the same time as the remake, or do you know that at all?
I think, as far as I'm aware, the Toei version that is like the anime that everyone, like the main anime, I think that is going to air to completion of, like, whenever the manga is finished, that's going to
Okay,
finish.
got you.
So that it will be one, like, long 1,300 episode, like, long experience. I don't know how long it's going to be at this point, because Oda has said he's wrapping up and going to finish, like, 4 times in the last, like, 7 years, and we're still going. So I'm like, I won't believe it until he writes the final chapter and it's done. Like, so I do think that's gonna finish, but then there will also be that shorter option of the remake where they kind of go back and redo that. And I do this kind of could go into, like, a broader conversation of, like, anime that need remakes, because they're redoing Dragon Ball Super, like, they're redoing the Beerus movie, and that's not that old. But also, I know there were a lot of different animation things, and, like, the way they had to pace that out was a little funky. So, like, I understand that. And even, like, One Piece, I think there are certain anime that need a remake and some that don't.
For sure.
One Piece is definitely one of those that, if you can have the time and the resources to go back and cut that filler and make a better, stronger, more faithful adaptation than what it originally was, because, anime has come a long way in 25 years. Like, just from quality, writing, like, what the animators are able to do, it's come a long way. So if you can update that and refresh that and give it a second chance and get more people into it because it's not as long, I think that's fine. Like, I think that's a good use of that. It also essentially just ensures that the One Piece brand is never gonna die. Like, it's I know they've set that up so that by the time, like, the main series ends, well, hey, we've still got people go, like, the remake is still going. The remake's only up to Skypiea. We still have all these other arcs that we gotta go back and do and trim it down. So, like, you're still here, and
that's actually pretty smart.
So, like, the money is there. I'm like, yeah, they got it. They got it unlocked. They know what they're doing. So, unless you have anything else to add about, like, what shows you've been watching or anything else you want to add, I think we can talk about some of the anime for people who want to start talking about, like, new people who want to start One Piece. We got other anime for you. But before that, I do want to say that if you enjoy what we do here at the podcast, feel free to subscribe and hit that like button. It's the best way to help the podcast to grow. If you know someone who wants to get into anime or is into anime and maybe they want to roast some of our picks here because they think we picked some of the dumbest stuff imaginable, share it with them. Send them the link. That's another way for the podcast to grow, is word of mouth, and we really appreciate it. If you're listening on the audio platforms, you can leave us a 5-star review, and, on Apple Podcasts, you can actually write a review, and if you do, we'll read it on the show. So, you can also go link in the description, check out all of our social media, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, the whole 9 yards. My channel will be down there. Eli's channel will be down there. It's all going to be good. You can also become a YouTube member for a low, low price of $5 a month and get an exclusive show delivered directly to you of things that we do not talk about on the normal episodes. Now, best starter anime. There's a lot of people who want to get into anime, don't know where to start, don't know what to do because there's so many different genres and shows to pick. So that's why we're here. We're here to give you some recommendations of a place to start. So as the guest with the last topic, I'll let you go first. What we can ping pong back and forth if you want to do like one or two, and then I'll do one or two, and we can kind of go that way, or you can do your whole list. Whatever you feel like. The mic is yours.
Yeah. No, we can go back and forth for sure. I have a few here. Um, and to preface, this is my personal recommendation. You know, there will be people out there that are just like, yo, why would you do that? That's dumb. You know, you're not me. So,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
with that being said, right, I think the first anime that I would recommend anybody watch. I know it's sus. I know it's sus, but I would say you should watch Fairy Tail. Like, I think that's a good beginner
Ooh.
anime. If you're a Christian, if you watch my channel at all, right? Take the Christian. Well, you don't have to actually, because I think there are a lot of good things that can be related to that. But I think Fairy Tail is a good anime, mainly because of the power of friendship, right? I think, you know, we joke about, okay, why does every anime for some reason overcome evil or whatever with the power of friendship? It can get over, you know, saturated sometimes, but I do think Fairy Tail is one of those anime where I think it draws it out so much that it can't help but, you know, be like, oh, like I really long for this type of community. The main reason why I think so is because, you know, it seems like the Fairy Tail Guild, Natsu, Lucy, all of their friends are so tight, like they're so connected, and they're like, we can fight anything if we do it together. And that's one of the things that when I was a college student, right, when I was a junior in high school, or not in high school, a junior in college, when I was watching anime, it was one of those anime that kind of hooked me, where I'm just like, this has some dumb stuff in it. Yes, it's over sexualized. That's crazy. But if you can get over that, I think it really made me long for community. It made me long for people in my corner that would always have my back no matter what, right? Like people that will always show up for me if I'm going through whatever struggle or and things like that. And so I think if you want a good idea of friendship, I mean, anime does friendship really well in general, but I think Fairy Tail does it so good that it makes you long for something like that a little bit. So I would say that's my first recommendation as a you know, for anyone wanting to get into anime. Like if you can get over the you know, the craziness of it and the gags, I think it's really worth watching.
Yeah, that's a good word. I recently started Fairy Tail because it's my fiance's favorite. Like that's her number one is Fairy Tail, and so I started it and I watched it, and she was like, "It's so good, I love it. You gotta like give it a shot." And I'm like, "Okay." And I started watching it. I think I'm like 14 or 15 episodes in, and it's good. Like it's got that very classic, quintessential shonen like power of friendship type stuff, and I don't hate it.
Hmm.
Like I
Yeah.
went in after hearing all of these people talk about like, oh well, Fairy Tail sucks. There's so much like it's just so bad, and like it, you know, power of friendship is too much. Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, for me, that's right up my alley. That's everything I want
Yep.
in a show. I eat that stuff
I'll
up.
take
I
that.
love it. So I'm not super far into it, but I do want to watch more, and I've heard it's good. And it's not that long in the grand scheme of things. I think I did the math, and if you include the 1,000-Year War, no, it's the 1,000-Year Quest, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, that was your quest. Yeah.
If you include that, it's still like 260 episodes, like total.
Yeah.
Um,
It's relatively short compared to most, well, some of the longer anime for sure.
yeah, because you know, like One Piece is obnoxious, and Dragon Ball has 3 different shows that you can go through. Like, so some of those other
Yeah.
ones that would be like the quintessential classics. I don't think Fruits Basket is that bad. My first pick, I gotta go with my home series. You guys know it was coming. My Hero Academia, I think, is if you love superheroes in any way, shape, or form, My Hero Academia all the way. Even just on that alone. But also, another thing that I think will make My Hero a little more appealing is it is now a complete show. It is now a complete series from start to finish, 170 episodes, 171 if you include the bonus episode they're doing in May. So it's another one that's like, it's not that long. It's start to finish. I know not that long sounds crazy when you're like over 100 episodes, but you guys understand what I'm saying. Like, you get it. But it is another one of those shows that I think just oozes that power of friendship, like positivity, like hopeful, optimistic, like worldview that I think a lot of people are looking for. Like in a world when you look outside and you check the news and you see all of this stuff and it's all doom and gloom and like the world is ending, especially in the last couple months, it's very nice to have a show that shows you that even in a dark world that feels hopeless, there is always hope. There is always something for you to look towards. There's always like some upside. There's always something there. I also think it has a really good story. I think it's a really good, engaging story. It has some of the best characters in anime, like that I've seen. Deku is my favorite anime character of all time. I love him. I relate to him on a personal level in so many different ways. And I also think the fights are incredible. I think it has really good fights, really good action. So if that's what you're looking for, and kind of like I was talking about earlier with JJK, it has a good balance of letting you get to know the characters and also staying as an action shonen series. So My Hero Academia, I gotta throw it out there. Couldn't do this list without it.
Yeah, no, that's good. I started, well, no, I think I got the season maybe 2 of My Hero Academia, and I loved it. I want to get back into it, but for some reason I've struggled. But then I ended up watching, like last summer, I ended up watching Vigilantes for a few episodes. I was like, yo, I like this. Like I actually like this a lot. And so you have convinced me to get back into it.
Yeah, that's good. Vigilantes is a
Uh,
good like honorable mention just because it takes a lot of like the main series, and you don't even have to watch the main series to watch Vigilantes. If anyone wants to get into it, I know
mhm.
that's one of the big questions I've gotten is like, do I have to see the main series to watch it? No, because it's a prequel that's set before. It's more akin to like a spin-off in the same world as opposed to a prequel that directly affects the story of the main series. So if you want to just watch Vigilantes and call it a day, you can. You don't ever have to touch the main series. I would encourage you to do both because they're both really good, but you can do one or the other or both, your call. But Vigilantes is also very good.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Um, my Probably my next one would be all-time favorite. This is in the core of my soul. Yu Yu Hakusho. So this is a like classic 80s 90s anime. Great soundtrack. I think every single character is a great character. Um it gets to a certain point where I think it's the last arc or whatever that's a little like why is this actually in here? But I think Yu Yu Hakusho is one of those shows that kind of um brings its main character to its full full circle where it doesn't leave you and it's like, okay, where's the growth, where's the whatever. And so Yu Yu Hakusho is like this like a classic, like, Japanese delinquent. He's, just very rowdy, like terrorizing his classmates, stuff like that. A very, like, shonen type of show. Like he has powers, he has the power ups and things like that. But I think it's one of those shows where you can see this person who is like kind of against the world and hates the world, and grows into like kind of wanting to like protect it and love his friends. And he kind of realizes that, like, at the end, spoiler a little bit maybe, but through what he goes through, he kind of realizes that the people in his circle are the most important thing to him. And at the end of it, it's like, okay, you kind of see the growth from this guy who was just like, yo, what? Who likes this guy? To the person that is like, oh wow, like this is a very beautiful ending. So it wraps up very nicely. It's very classic '80s anime animation and soundtrack, but the soundtrack is very very classic. So I think if anyone would like want to watch that show, I think they would really love it. And I think they would also find a lot of, like, especially young kids growing up or young teenagers trying to find their way. I think they would probably find themselves in it a lot, from like, you kind of go from this person that's like an outsider, which most anime are kind of like that. The main character is an outsider, but he goes from being an outsider to being accepted and loved by people. Mainly because, like, I mean, he fights to protect the people he loves. He goes to bat for them. He'll do whatever he needs to do in order to make sure that they're safe and that his family's safe and that you know. Um, and so I would say definitely Yu Yu Hakusho, classic. Definitely should watch it if you're younger. anime fan, and I don't think it's that long either. I think it might be like maybe 100 and some episodes. So I think they really kind of make it condensed enough for you to be able to get through the whole thing.
Yeah, that's good. I've heard good things about Yu Yu Hakusho. I've never seen it. It's one of those. It's like will probably perpetually be on my list of shows to watch. I do want to
give you some homework, bro.
I want to at some point do like shut off watching new shows entirely and do like a classic run of anime because there's a ton of classics I haven't seen. I haven't seen Bleach, Naruto, Fairy Tail, even though I've started it. Yu Yu Hakusho, Trigun, like some of those quintessential shows. I'm like, all right, at a certain point, we're cutting off the new stuff for like 6 months, and I'm just gonna go on like a classic, like hit all of the bullet points of these are some of those quintessential shows. So I've heard really good things about it, and you've sold me on it more so than I was before. So that's a good word on Yu Yu Hakusho. My next pick, I'm gonna dive into a movie. Actually, and I know this is a good starter anime. I know because I've sold multiple different people on anime with this movie. And that is the Makoto Shinkai classic Weathering with You. It is actually a really solid movie. It's my favorite movie of all time. And it's one of those like it's an anime movie, but you could almost just pass it off as a really good animated movie. Like anyone who enjoys just watching good animation or good animated movies and they don't necessarily like anime, I think Weathering with You and even a couple of other Shinkai's other films like Your Name, Suzume, even some of his older stuff, I think also has that same feel to it. I would put like Shinkai as a more modern like Studio Ghibli type where the movies are just really good movies. It doesn't necessarily lean into the anime tropes in the same way that the shonen series do or the shoujos or whatever. So it's a very good movie with a solid plot. And that is actually how I got Jackson, other co-host of the show, into anime. That was the first one I made him watch because I really love it. And I was like, I know as a movie enjoyer, you will enjoy this movie. And he did. So if you're just looking and you want to start with something that's maybe not as big of a time commitment because it's only hour 45, I think maybe 2 hours. So if you want something that's maybe not as much of a time commitment as, a 100 episode show, you can go with Weathering with You, or like I said, Your Name, Suzume, any of Makoto Shinkai's other movies. They're very beautifully animated. The stories are very heartfelt and very human. Like they have supernatural elements. Like Weathering with You is all about the main girl. She's a sunshine girl who can make it stop raining. So how does all of that work? And like it does have these supernatural elements, but he does a really good job of still having it feel grounded and maintained in reality, and it never feels like it's blown out of proportion. So there's a couple movies for you guys if you want to go down that route and not do a long running show, but I had to put it on here because it's like I love that movie so much. I have the Blu-ray, the Steelbook, the 4K, like every version way I can buy this. I have the manga. I want to get the light novel. Like every way I can consume this story, I have pretty much. So I had to throw it on the list.
Yeah, no, I love that. This isn't my next one, but I really love that because I love Your Name. Like Your Name, like every time I mention that, like Your Name is probably my favorite like kind of like romance like movie, but movie of his. My wife was always like, "Yo, that's so dumb. How would you like that? There are better anime movies out there." I was like, "But I love it, right?" Like it kind of warms my little like my romance, like my rom-com heart a little bit. Because Your Name is a classic for me. I think I love a good love story, with a little bit of humor in it as well, and also a little bit of the supernatural. You know what I mean? I think I appreciate those stories a lot. But my next anime, I would say I gotta throw in a favorite as of late for a lot of people actually is Frieden Beyond Journey's End.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I cautiously do put that one in there mainly because not because No, I think it is easy to get into. I think it's slow paced enough where it's like you can follow the story, you can understand what's going on. There's hints of action in it. Not every moment, but it gives you the appropriate amount of action that's in it. Um it's very slow. It makes you. I think it does make you think about just like, okay, what happens after the story ends? You know what I mean? Because every good story or a good anime that like kind of has like, taken our hearts and just like kind of held it tight. We kind of wonder, okay, what happened after? You know what I mean? Like like what like I think Full Metal Alchemist. Brotherhood is kind of one of those anime that I'm like, oh wow, like I'm so sad this ended. What happens after the story? And I think for Frieden, it's like one of those things where okay, the original journey, hero's party, whatever, has ended. What's next after the party ends or after the story ends? So I think Frieden does a great job with that, but also incorporating other people's stories within it, as like with Stark and Fern. Um, it's slow. It makes you long. It makes you think about like, okay, to slow down and enjoy the journey rather than rushing through everything. I think it's one of the things that I really love about Frieden, and it's easy to watch, to be honest. Like you could throw it on after like a long day of work or whatever, and you're like, I can enjoy this. Like I can relax. If you're trying to relax at the end of a long day, Frieden um is a great thing to watch, especially if you're trying to get into anime. Um, but I cautiously put that there though because I think it's so like mellow and has its hype moments, but it's also just very mundane and it deals with the mundane and other and everything. If you are looking for like that dopamine hit when you're watching anime, like if you've had a few experiences with like a lot of the like the soul leveling or the demon slayers or the whatever, Frieden will feel like it's like not a good show to you at first if you start watching it. But when you start watching it, when you get into a few episodes, it's like, oh wow, this is actually a really, really great show. And this is coming from someone that's like, I'm very much hype and action first rather than, you know, mellow, draw the story out. What is this all trying to come to? And Frieden's probably like one of my favorite anime like of all time. It's like trumped my list so far. Um, so I would say Frieden for sure.
Yeah, that's another good pick. I like your little caveat of about the pacing because I do think that really throws people off because a lot of the clips you see online and on social media are those more hype like, oh, Stark just killed this dragon or Fern, killed this demon or whatever, like, and you see that and I think it's really easy to get caught in the idea that, oh, that's what this show is. But when in actuality, that's kind of like a subset of what the show is. Like there is an action because at the end of the day, they are, going about this fantasy world and there are demons to fight and dragons to slay and like magic tournament. It's not a tournament, but it's like the magic trial that they go to at the end of season 1. Like there is that kind of stuff to really flesh out the world building and help it feel bigger. But Frieren's strength is the mundane. It is learning to, because that's her whole character journey, is learning to appreciate and take in even the small moments and appreciate that. So if I just don't want people to go into it thinking it's all action, because it's not, but that doesn't mean it's not a good show. Because I'm right there with you, man. I love my fights, my pretty animation that looks good, and like we're going crazy with the action, but then I also can appreciate the slowness of Frieren. And I do, like, when I first watched it, it did take a little bit to get over that initial hump of like, well, where's all the action at? Like, where's my flashy anime fight? Like, what am I looking at here? So no, Frieren's a good pick. I think that's a good one. I will hit the audience here with a triple pack. Mainly because they all kind of have the same thing I would say about all of them. For my fellow romance enjoyers out there, I know there are some real hopeless romantics out there who love themselves a good rom-com or a good romance to really get invested in. So I got 3 for you. These are some of my favorite romance anime. So I got to start out with the classic, and that is Fruits Basket. It's a 3-season. It's more slice of life than romance, but the romance kicks in kind of halfway through and becomes a little bit more relevant in the plot. But it's very wholesome, very clean, focuses on like it's slice of life, but it also does focus a lot more on the characters themselves and the character drama going between them. I remember when I first watched it, it really scratches that itch of like, how do I want to word this? It really scratches that itch of like, oh, I really want like the family drama, like reality TV type, like you're trying to figure out, well, why does this family act this way? Why do they have these dynamics? How does Toru Honda fit into all of that as like this outsider who's just this like pure innocent soul who's never done a bad thing in her life, like showing this unconditional love to the people in this family. So like it's really good, complete story from start to finish in the 3 seasons. And that's always a big thing for me is I'm hesitant to get into anime sometimes when it's open-ended or like a show that'll never get a season 2, that will never get to see the continuation of that without reading the manga. So Fruits Basket is one of those that's like, hey, from start to finish, we understand what's happening here. The second one, which is a newer one that came out last year that jumped my list in a way I didn't think. And the title sounds sus, but it's really not that bad, is The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity. Is one of the cleanest, most wholesome, most like incredible romance anime I've ever watched. The main couple is so endearing and so interesting to watch, and seeing the interactions between her and her friend and him and his friends, because like he goes to an all boys school, she goes to an all girl school that's real prim and proper, and they don't like the boys school. So you kind of have like that Romeo and Juliet back and forth going, but it's very wholesome. It's very good. It looks incredibly gorgeous. Cloverworks did an incredible job with that series, and it's not one that start to finish because it's only 1 season with 12 episodes, but it is, if you only watch the first season, I think the payoff at the end is worth it based on where it ends, because that's also how the manga is paced as well. So if we ever did get a season 2, I'd be like, heck yeah, I'm in, I'm sold. But if you're someone who just wants to watch 1 season and call it a day, 12 episodes, super low investment, I would go for it. And then my last one is a niche, underrated pick that I've never seen anyone talk about, and it drives me nuts because this one also somehow skyrocketed into my top 5 romance anime, and that is Betrothed to My Sister's Ex. Another one with a like super sus title, and I'm like, I know, guys, it's weird. You just gotta hear me out. You gotta trust me on this one, okay? The premise sounds odd, but if you just give it a shot, give it a chance, it's a really, really wholesome and endearing story of this girl learning to find her own self-worth and learning to find that she is worthy of love, and understand that there are people out there who genuinely love her and care about her and want to see her succeed and are not trying to pull something over on her or, you know, yank the rug out from underneath her at the last second. Like it is, and seeing her journey from episode 1 to episode 12, or I think 13, I think that one was 13, from start to finish per se, is very incredible. And the main guy, walking green forest. He's just great standard, very like respectable, noble gentleman. So that one's on Crunchyroll, 13 episodes. It's another one I think the light novel it's based on has more, but if you just watch the anime, it's a very solid start to finish conclusion. So I will always recommend that one. It is incredible. All 3 of those shows, very low to no fan service, so you don't have to worry about like any of the weird anime shenanigans of like, oh, my mom walked in and they're like laying on top of each other in the ooh. So very clean, very good, wholesome recommendations for me, for all my romance enjoyers out there. I know you're out there. I got you. I'm taking care of you.
No, I love that. I think I'm gonna do 3 because you did 3, so I think it would be right. So to stick in the vein of romance, I will say that a really good and short anime to watch. It's also one of those old like maybe 2000-ish anime. It's called My Lovely Complex.
Ooh,
And
I've
so
heard good things about that.
Yeah, so the kind of the story kind of follows like these two, a guy and a girl, um, and they kind of have this complicated friendship, and everyone kind of feels like they should date, but they kind of put it off. And it's like really, really good. Like I didn't think I would like it. My wife was watching it, and I was like, "Oh snap! This actually looks kind of crazy." Because one of the main reasons, kind of a spoiler, is that the guy is short and the girl is very tall. And so I'm
Short
like,
kings
okay,
rise
how do
up.
you navigate? Sure. And so how it's very funny. It's very easy to watch. If you really like kind of those complicated like romance, friendships like kind of turning into something or not something. I think Lovely Complex is a really, really good show to watch. It's very easy to watch, very digestible, and it's a great love story. It took my heart by storm. I was actually very surprised, and just like my wife's watching it. Something like usually my wife watches like things that aren't like that much hype and things. And so we were watching it, I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good. And then she looks at me like, I got better taste than you. I'm like, sure, whatever. Um, and another one I will say is another classic is Naruto. It is done, like at least the original like is done. But I think Naruto, and I think if you're new to anime, it's something that you probably heard about and you're around, but you probably are like, "Oh, I'm not watching this, or whatever." But I think Naruto is a really good starter anime for people because it does give the very like person who's an outcast, person who's trying to figure out how do you navigate in a world that doesn't like you, that doesn't want you, and how do you work hard to achieve your dreams with the odds stacked against you. There's debate now that Naruto was actually like he was actually a privileged kid in a sense, right? And he was actually like kind of had everything handed to him on a platter because of all the different things. But if you're new to anime, you won't see that because just from the very beginning it shows that the kind of the odds are stacked against this kid who's trying to achieve his ultimate dream, which is to become the leader of the village one day. And so I think Naruto is one of those stories that I think is a very like zero to hero type of anime that I think a lot of people can get behind, which is I think a reason why it's always stayed in the conversation in the anime community because it's like one of those stories that everybody can get behind. You know what I mean? Like I think even there was a famous and streamer Kai Cenat, right, that like started watching Naruto and he got like inspiration from it. And I'm just like, it's one of those things. It's like it's easy to watch and it will get you motivated to want to achieve your dreams because those themes are in there. One of the first to do it for sure. So I would say that is my. Was that my second one? That was my second one,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay, my second one. Okay, and then I'm gonna get hate for this because it's easy to watch and if you like hype, Solo Leveling, I think is okay to watch for your first beginner anime. It's one of the, like, especially if you want to get it will motivate you to want to just get better. Like as far as like health wise and fitness wise. I don't know about everything else, but it is one of those things where it's like, oh, wow, this guy is leveling up through life very easy. Why is he doing that? This doesn't really make any sense, but it's fun to watch, right? And I think it's one of those things where it's like it's one of those anime where it's like, oh, like I should be worried that this guy might not actually achieve what he wants to do, but then you realize that it's called solo leveling for a reason, and he's just going to be able to do whatever he wants, basically. And so that's one of the reasons why I enjoy it, and I think it's easy to watch. The animation is great. The story is okay. I mean, it's not anything like to brag about, but I think the animation, the fight scenes. Um, Kind of just like you want to see, okay, what is he going to do next? It kind of keeps you on the edge of your seats in that way, but I wouldn't say it's anything like spectacular. But Solo Leveling, it's a good starter anime for sure.
Yeah, that's good. I'll piggyback because Solo Leveling is also on my list, so I'll do another. I'll do a couple more here. Solo Leveling, to your point, it is like if you're the person who just wants like raw action for like 12, 13 episodes, Solo Leveling is your go-to. That's and I'll self-admit
100%.
I love Solo Leveling. Not like the deepest plot in the world, and that's okay. I think a lot of a lot of anime fans online will tell you that like, well, Solo Leveling is bad because it doesn't have a really good plot, and I think it's like kind of dumbing down because you get a lot of shows caught up of like, well, if it's not as deep and complex as Attack on Titan, it's not a good show. But I'm like, you have to have a balance. You have to have the shows that have the deep, like, thought-provoking stories like Attack on Titan or even Death Note, and then you do have to have the ones that are kind of just action, like mindless, like turn your brain off, like don't really think about it. Solo Leveling, I would put JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in that category. Like things where you're just turn my brain off and whatever happens. Like, so I would also recommend Solo Leveling as a good place to start. It has very good animation. It's very easy to follow along. And something I think that goes a little underrated with Solo is the dub is actually really good. Alex Lee does a really good job as Genu, and the rest of the dub is also good. So if you're one of those who like, you could just turn it on in the background, you can. Not that I think you should, because it's very action heavy, and I think you'll miss some of that if you turn it on in the background. But it is a good watch. Another one that I think, sticking with the action theme, I will recommend you Mashle, Magic and Muscles is another one that, doesn't have the deepest plot, isn't the most like thought-provoking type show ever, but it is really good. It does have good action. It kind of leans into that power of friendship like Fairy Tail, and is also just kind of wacky to see how Mashle, a guy with no magic, carries himself in a world that is only magic, and him essentially defying the odds and overcoming that. It's the best way to describe Mashle is it's Harry Potter meets One Punch Man, and that is like incredibly accurate. There's a ton of Harry Potter references in there, and they're not even like super well hidden. Like, it's magic school on this floating island in the middle of the water with 3 distinct houses, which I know Harry Potter has 4. But like distinct houses, and they have like the long flowing robes, and Mash has a like lightning mark on his face. So like some of it's a little on the nose with what it's trying to be, but it is a really good show. I enjoyed it a lot. Like when I watched season 1, I blazed through it and then blazed through the rest of the manga, and the manga is also really good. So I would recommend Mashle. And then my last one I'll do for now is tried and true. I'll caveat it as I talk about it, and that is Demon Slayer. I gotta put Demon Slayer on here, mainly because
you about to get so many people in the comments, right?
Here's my thing about Demon Slayer, right? I know it's very easy to hate as like carried by animation, not that good, the plot's not there. But I also think Demon Slayer falls in a, not the same, but in a similar category to Solo Leveling, where Solo Leveling is just hype moments and aura, and the story is not really anything to, talk about. Demon Slayer is like a tier or 2 up from that, where the story is not complex by any means. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Demon Slayer has like this deep, engaging story that's like, political intrigue and blah, 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 blah. Like, it is a very simple story of Tanjiro wants to save his sister and turn her back into a human. So how does he go about doing that? By killing demons. But that said, I think Demon Slayer takes what is a very simple premise, what is a very simple plot, and uses that to build off of, and has these incredibly like well done character moments, and like gets you really attached and invested to these characters. Like, people talk about Mugen Train. That's, not to spoil anything, but like how quickly you get attached to Rengoku in the movie, like in Mugen Train, after having not really seen him at all, and how quickly you get attached to him as a character, how quickly you get attached to Zenitsu and Inosuke and even Tanjiro and Nezuko and the other Hashira, like, who aren't around, like, they don't have a ton of screen time, especially in the early parts. They do in Infinity Castle, as we get, like, towards the end, but just how you can so easily get attached to those characters and understand their story and relate to them. I also think the animation is incredible, and it does look really good. The fights are really well done. The breathing styles, and the techniques look incredible, and you end up rooting for these characters. And it does have a good balance of like, we're fighting for half the season, but then the first half is like character development, character building, building relationships, and then we get into the fighting, and all of that comes full circle for every arc. I've never understood the argument that Demon Slayer is carried by animation, and that's like some like negative bad thing about it, as if we don't want anime adaptations that look good. Like, last I checked, anime was like, animation is supposed to be good. Like, we're supposed to want the best for these anime adaptations. So I don't understand how that's like some kind of derogatory against Demon Slayer. But, I had to put it on there because I love Demon Slayer, and I think it's an easy entry point because the story is very simple. The characters are very grounded and easy to relate to, and there is the action to keep you invested, and you don't feel like you have to have a 700 IQ to understand it. You can just go in and enjoy it as the show that it is.
Yeah, I honestly, I'll piggyback off that. Like, one of the things that really draws me in about Demon Slayer, and I think the reason why it is so easy to watch, I think, and like you said before, it's the simple premise of like, okay, Tanjiro just wants to save his sister, and so he's gonna do whatever he needs to do in order to do that. And it's just very easy to follow, right? It's like, okay, he's just going from town to town. He's become, a Hashira in order to figure out, how he can save his sister. But one of the things that I really like and enjoy about it is that I'm gonna get some flack for this. I think when it comes to whoever he's fighting, right? Like whether it's a major demon, like mostly major demons and stuff. And I think this is done really well with the Kaza in Infinity Castle Part 1, is that like, even though, the monsters that they're fighting are obviously they're evil. They're demons. Like they need to die, right? Like they've killed people, they need justice, right? And but I think Demon Slayer, and a lot of anime do this pretty well, but I think Demon Slayer is one of those anime which I will give a pass to, because it shows like, okay, why did this person do this? You know what I mean? Like, why? Like, what's the build up? What's the backstory? Behind a villain being a villain, basically. And it doesn't justify it, right? It doesn't, at least in my eyes, because like, like they still die at the end of the day, so it's not like some sort of like, oh, like I understand your past, so now you get to live. It's more like, no, you're going to die still, but I now understand why you had to die, and things like that. And so I think Demon Slayer is one of those things where, you can em- this is a, oh my gosh, this is such a buzzword, bad word now. I don't think it's a bad word, but I'm gonna use it anyway. Empathy, right? I think empathy is one of those things where Demon Slayer does it really well, but not to the point where it's like saying like, oh, okay, this is your backstory, this is your past. Okay, yeah, it's fine. You can continue doing whatever you want. It's like, oh, like I understand why this person does what they do. And so I think, at least for me, and I think it maybe for a newer anime fan, is that you can see this play out in your own life as well, where it's like, oh, like this person is messed up. This person in my own life, who I know goes through all these different things, I understand what they do. I'm not gonna give them a pass. I'm not gonna give them excuses, but like it helps me to understand a little bit why this person turned out the way they are. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I would suggest Demon Slayer as my last anime to suggest as well, because it's a good entry point. From the very start, it's a good entry point, and I do think as you get into the show, you are wanting to like kind of understand, like, some of the, I guess, mysteries in the show a little bit. Like, okay, why does Tanjiro have this certain thing that he does? I won't spoil it, but he has a certain thing that he does, but everyone else can't do it. Like, where does that come from? What's the backstory behind that? And there's certain like, um characters introduced, and it's just like, okay, how did they, what did they do, like what's the lore behind them? And so I think it's really fun in that way. And honestly, you still have time to watch all the seasons. Like I don't even think the seasons are that long, to be honest. I think they're very
No.
easy to get through. And if you take time to just uh I don't know, to get through the episodes, you'll be in time for Infinity Castle Part 2 that's coming out like whenever it decides to come out.
Yeah,
So,
eventually, one day in the future at a certain undisclosed time. So I have two more that one of them is like, people who are anime fans are like chomping at the bit, like, why haven't you recommended that yet? But the first one is, which this is another one that I've recommended to people and they've gotten into anime because of it, and that's Spy Family. That's another really easy one, very wholesome slice of life, like great comedy, great premise of like this assassin and this spy and a telepath who are all living in the same house, and they're trying to keep these secrets from each other while also pretending to be like a normal family, and the comedy that ensues from there. It is also like that very traditional like family values in a way. And I think that's why a lot of people love it. And it is very easy. It doesn't go super hard into the anime tropes. But it is still an enjoyable watch. And then the last one that I will say is classic that I feel like everyone who's watched anime has watched, and that's Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like, that is one of the quintessential, like, it was the highest rated anime on Mal for a long time, and for good reason. It is an incredible story. It is, I think, 64 or 65 episodes. And at start to finish, it's honestly one of the greatest stories ever told. And the way, like,
yes,
it leans into the anime tropes, and it gets into like, and it leans into some of that for the comedy, but it still tells this really engaging, incredible story of these two brothers and how they are trying to accomplish their goals, and how they get wrapped up in like this government conspiracy and end up saving the world by the end of it. Like, it is just, when people say that it's one of the greatest anime of all time, I think it's one of the only series that actually lives up to that level of praise. Like, when I say My Hero is like my favorite and it's incredible, I can also acknowledge that, like, objectively, yeah, it's got some faults. It's got some areas where it struggles. But Fullmetal Alchemist, like, I legitimately have I have nothing bad to say about it. Like, it is a 5-star incredible series that I think everyone who wants to watch anime should get into, because kind of in the same vein as Weathering with You, it's a show that I think could just be a really good TV show, not even just a really good anime. Like, it could stand up with some of the best TV shows ever created. And I think that is what makes it so easy for people to get into, because you don't have to be like, well, do I have to like anime to like it? No, you just have to like good storytelling, good characters, good comedy, like that kind of stuff. And I think you'll enjoy Fullmetal Alchemist. So that's my final recommendation is Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. I don't know if you have anything you want to add, because I know you've seen it as well.
Yeah, no, I actually a few months ago I rewatched Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, and I was just like from the first time I watched it, and then the second time I watched it just recently, I was just blown away, like, again, because this is like this is a really good story. Like, it is one of those anime that, like, it seems like every anime fan from like the older generation, from the newer generation to whatever, like, they will fight you about this anime, like, and it makes sense. Like, it's just saying, scrolling on the Twitter webs or whatever, like, kind of seeing Fullmetal Alchemist be debated as like why this show is the greatest anime of all time, and I'm like looking at these things like, did you actually watch this show? And like, and it's generally like, I don't say that like lightly with other shows or whatever, because it's like, sometimes anime is not that deep, but for Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, it's that deep. It's that deep. Like, it makes sense, like, to kind of, all the themes that I think a lot of people like argue about now are just in Fullmetal Alchemist. They did it first, and and honestly, I feel like they do it a little bit better than most of the shows nowadays. But it's just one of those things that from the very beginning, it just like grasps your heart, basically. And so 100% like recommend, 10 out of 10. Honestly, I would say that should be, if you haven't watched anime before, Fullmetal Alchemist should be your number one priority. If I'm being honest,
I would agree.
Like, that should be one of the stories that's like, I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch this before everything else because honestly, it kind of sets the standard a little bit of storytelling of anime and this speaks for itself, right? It's not just like anime fans being like, oh, this is my favorite anime, but it's like genuinely like you said, like one of those things. So it's like, yeah, it just speaks for itself basically. I would say a few more. I won't explain them too much, but Hunter x Hunter. I would say is a great starter anime to watch. Hunter x Hunter, but I'm just gonna write off the classics just because that's just I'm just like I just do that. So Hunter x Hunter, DBZ, I think Death Note is a great starter anime as well. Um, Vinland Saga, great starter anime as well. Unfortunately, I'll just have to say Attack on Titan, even though I can't stand Attack on Titan, even though I like it. Uh, Man, I know you're gonna have a problem with this.
Oh no.
Neon Genesis Evangelion. I'm just kind of putting myself in like high school or early college Eli, and I'm just like, okay, what would I watch that would like actually would be enjoyable to me, but also I probably could benefit from or learn from as like in my early years. I would recommend all those animes. So that is my list. There are more, but honestly, we don't have all that time. So
That's good. I won't go down the Evangelion train. I'll spare because otherwise we'll be here all day. I am going to rattle off. I did ask you guys on my Twitter account, since I have a lot of anime people who follow me, some recommendations for other anime that we may not have already mentioned here. So I'm gonna breeze through some of those. So if you hear yourself, congratulations, you made it on an episode of the podcast. From Blake Olson, he recommends Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Trigun, and Fullmetal Alchemist, which could be Fullmetal Alchemist or Brotherhood. Friend of the show, my friend, Piercing Heaven, Demon Slayer, Kaguya-sama Love is War, Zenshu, which is another really good one, Violet Evergarden, Vinland Saga. Joe Barber says anything by Studio Ghibli. Absolutely. Just Zeke Shine says A Silent Voice and Erased, which A Silent Voice is incredible. I haven't seen Erased, but I know it's good. I believe it. Golden Era says Pokemon, Spy Family, Demon Slayer, Cowboy Bebop, Fullmetal Alchemist, My Hero Academia, and Fruits Basket. Which I can't believe. Cowboy Bebop is that's a good pick. Honestly, like, so. Riley says Spy Family, Frieren, Blue Box, Violet Evergarden, Samurai 7, Dragon Quest, Dragon Ball Super. And he added the caveat, these would be great to give you exposure to the medium's varying genres, which I think is another good thing. Like if you want to test, because some people really like romance over action and vice versa. So if you want to just get out there, expand yourself. Jonathan Perry says Trigun, and includes Trigun Stampede and Stargaze, Tokyo Godfathers, Vinland Saga, A Silent Voice, and Studio Ghibli. Jeb Schaefer says Naruto, Fullmetal Alchemist, My Hero, Bleach, and Demon Slayer. And then the last one, which is a long list, so you guys just got to go with me here, okay? This is from Sam. Says Vinland Saga, Fullmetal Alchemist, My Hero Academia, Naruto, Bleach, Demon Slayer, Solo Leveling, That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, Dr. Stone, Spy Family, Fire Force, Kaiju number 8, Black Clover, and One Piece. So One Piece is one. One Piece is a good recommendation, but it's hard for someone who's never watched anime because it's so long and it's such a big time commitment to watch One Piece. So like I would recommend it if you want something like super long and something you can sink tons of time and hours into. But if you want something a little more chill, obviously we've given you an episode full of stuff that you can watch. So I don't know if you have any like last minute ones you want to add.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'll say this. I want because I off that list, like I was like, wow, I should have said that one, like Cowboy Bebop. Like I think, there's another one, Steins Gate, that I would say is a pretty good anime to watch. But But overall, I will say this: like when it comes to anime, and um, I think there are a ton of anime out there, and there are a ton of different genres and different stories that kind of works for everybody, right? And so I would say when you were first starting out and watching whatever anime, p- maybe just pick one that you would fit your style the most, right? Like if you are like, okay, I don't really like the over the top action animation, everyone going crazy. There's the super philosophical or complex things to understand. Maybe a good slice of life might be okay for you, right? Like maybe a good whatever it is that will get you in the door, it is okay, right? Because I think honestly sometimes I think and I even deal with this as an anime fan today, where it's like, okay, like am I putting so much pressure on myself to watch the things that everyone else watches and likes? And I think to a certain extent, like if you want to be really plugged into the anime community and like be in conversation and stuff, sometimes you might have to watch those things, right? But sometimes if you're just like, hey, I just want to watch anime and just want to enjoy this medium, then Studio Ghibli might be okay for you, and you're like, all right, that's what I got, right? A show like a really good show that I like is Kotoro Lives Alone, right? It's a good easy starter anime to get into, where it's like this little like boy that's like living on his own, but he's accepted by the complex that he lives in, and which is really it's a really heartwarming story that I think is easy to get into. And so all that to say, like whatever it is that would get you into the door, it would not and wouldn't feel overwhelming, is the best anime for you, right? Like if you see a trailer of an anime, you're like, oh, this looks interesting. Maybe take a stab at it. You know what I mean? But like, don't feel the pressure if like for these like a show like One Piece, if you see that thousand episode number, don't feel like you have to watch it. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
think I think sometimes One Piece fans like are so overzealous about a great show that it kind of diminishes how great a show it is, because they're so overzealous about, oh, you just need to get through and it's like from our standpoint, like we understand, like you do need to get to a certain point where it's like, okay, you could get the ball rolling, but for someone that's just starting out, 1,000 episodes is a lot, and like you're kind of looking at the number like, okay, when am I going to end this, like when is this going to be done? Because I think for all of us, we want to start something and then see it through. Like we want to see it finished. And if it just seems like, oh, I'm only on episode 500 and there's like 1,000 more episodes to go, it's like, unless you're doing it for the love of the game, then it's like it's gonna be hard to kind of get your foot in the door and stuff. So
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what you said. Just try to find a genre that you like. Like if you like I said earlier, if you like superheroes, go with My Hero. If you want something that's, not super deep and a little easier to like a better barrier of entry, um I would go with something like Demon Slayer or Solo Leveling, like those shows that are a little easier to understand, a little easier to comprehend. But if you like the political intrigue and you like the really deep stuff, go for the Death Notes and the Attack on Titan. Like, just kind of know what you like and what genres you
mm,
like, um, and go from there. Don't feel pressured to immediately jump off the bat and watch One Piece. Like, you don't have to start there, I promise. You are not going to be a fake anime fan if you
mm-hmm,
don't start with
mm-hmm.
One Piece. Like, I didn't start One Piece. I didn't start watching One Piece until like 7 or 8 years after I started watching anime. So like it's totally chill. You will be okay. So yeah, I think that's about all we have on that as we wrap up the episode here. Eli, I will give you the floor. You can plug your channel, any projects you're working on, let the people know where they can find you on the internet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, Nick, thanks for having me on, bro. I really appreciate you. Like this was fun. I really enjoyed it. I hope that I can come back because I think you guys get into some deep things. So I want to be a
Oh
part of
yeah.
that. So I would love to. But yeah, you guys can find my content at Anime Relatable on YouTube. That's where I make relatable content on whatever anime I'm watching or whatever. And so you can find that there. Um The latest, what I'm working on right now, I'm working on the history of Christian anime and manga right now, and so I'm currently in the editing phase right now. I'm hoping to get it out by the end of April, but life has been kicking me right now, so it's been hard for me to just, like, settle and get things going. But that will be my next like big project. It'll be close to like 45 minutes, maybe to an hour, but I hope I don't have it that long. But I think, if you are a Christian anime fan and you are someone that's like, hey, I wish there were more Christian anime or manga out there. Like, I see the themes in my favorite anime, but I wish there was something that really like was for us, basically. And that video is to let people know that, hey, it's always existed. It's always been there. And this is just me like shedding the light on some of those things. Not that they need to be shed like light on, but it's one of those fun projects for me where I really, really do believe that the Lord is, working in this space. And I think, just highlighting those different projects that I'm going to be talking about in the video, is going to be helpful to the body of Christian anime fans and manga fans. So that's coming out. Stay tuned for that on my YouTube channel. And I guess you can follow me on Twitter. Sometimes Twitter is an up and down thing for me. I post sometimes I don't post, but you're welcome to follow me there as well at Anime Relatable. So
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for coming on. We will definitely have to have you back on in the future, maybe with Jackson next time, because it's always weird because like I get to do all the guest episodes because it's usually because he's not here. So I would love to do another episode with him here so that he can actually like also get to interact with some of the great guests we've had on this show. So that's all from us. For regulars of the podcast, you know where to find us. You can go, links in the description, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, all of the things. Leave us 5-star reviews on all the different audio platforms. Share it with someone. If you watch this and you are someone who wants to start watching anime or knows someone else who wants to start watching anime, share it with people who you think would like it. That is truly the best way for us to grow and to keep getting out there and reaching new people with the content that we make. You can also check out, there's a link in the description on YouTube of all of the other anime episodes we've done. So if you start this anime journey and you want to watch more of our anime specific episodes, there's a playlist for you to go through. And actually some of it is Jackson's anime adventure, which is Jackson also experiencing some of those shows for the first time. So you can kind of experience them for the first time alongside him. So if that's something you're interested in. And then as always, I want to give our members shout out to Retro Plaid Guy. Thank you for supporting the show, keeping the lights on. As always, you can go join our YouTube memberships, get an extra episode every single month. I don't want to say what the one for April is yet because we haven't recorded it yet and it might change, but the topic we currently have slated is really good and I think it's going to be an enjoyable episode. So until next time, I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.